Hey guys, I want to do a video on Knifeless EDC or Knifeless emergency preparedness or survival tools. Most people carry a Leatherman or Swiss Army knife or a dedicated folder, and if you can do that, that's great. If you're allowed to do that. Obviously, if you have a multi-tool with a knife, it's far more versatile. However, there are certain situations where you will not be allowed to carry knives or a blade, and I kind of wanted to address that in this video. Because going without tools for some of us who EDC can be difficult and don't really want to do that. So I kind of want to go over the options, and first I want to start with why you would need to do this. The first one that comes to mind is for travel, and that's for TSA or traveling to other countries. Most of the time you are not allowed to carry a knife or a blade, and sometimes even tools. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the options. And the only caveat with the options is, of course, that each entity, TSA, airport, whatever the case may be, is going to have their own rules and their own interpretation. So there's a chance that even though these are technically allowed, they may still be taken away, or you may still ask to remove them. So this is the Leatherman Knifeless Fuse. How this is different than most Leathermans is, instead of having a blade, they have replaced it with a file. It has the standard flathead screwdrivers and the micro flathead, bottle opener, can opener, a pair of scissors, and a Phillips. That's it. There is no knife on this. So technically this should be allowed. Leatherman had it posted when they first introduced it as TSA approved. However, there were reports that TSA still would not allow it on. So that is one situation though, travel to an airport, through an airport, or to another country. Similarly, there are countries that have rules about carrying knives, such as locking blades and just knives in general. So that is another situation where you might want to look at carrying something like this, because then you are within the legal confines of that country. So, for example, in England, you are not allowed to carry a locking knife on you, and even if you carry a Leatherman multi-tool, which has a knife, it locks, so technically that would be illegal. There are other countries, other rules, so I encourage you to look that up, but that is one reason I'm kind of reviewing this, is that if you're traveling, getting through airport, or even staying in the countries for a couple weeks, you want to be legal and make sure you don't get in trouble for that. The other situation is colleges and schools, and even kindergarten to 12th grade. Most schools and colleges have rules around being allowed to carry a knife or a blade. Universities in California, for example, have rules about blade length, and there are some colleges that in general don't allow what they consider weapons on school campus. So that is another situation where a knifeless EDC would be useful. The other thing relating to that is, if you work at elementary school or high school or junior high, basically kindergarten through 12th, most school districts have rules about not carrying weapons and not allowing knives. Now, your local laws may have rules about blade length and locking blades and not, but other than what the county or the state law is, the school district itself usually sets rules about what they allow teachers to carry on and what they allow students to carry on. So that's another place where a knifeless EDC may be something to consider. And related to schools is that if you want to teach your child about being prepared, about survival tools, or just EDC, that these tools may, depending on the age of your kid, be an alternative for them to carry technically in school, or for them to learn, because there is no knife. They're not going to stab themselves or cut themselves accidentally. I mean, there are scissors, but so these are a safe alternative to teaching children also. And the last two have to do with the next one is, there are theme parks, and the one that comes to mind is, for example, Disneyland, but there are other theme parks and concerts and stuff like that where they don't allow weapons or knives. And if you have a knife on you or on your multi-tool, you'll be taken away, or you'll be asked to walk all the way back to the car to return it. And the last one has to do with, if you are a felon uh, felons are typically not allowed to carry weapons, and that includes knives. So with all those situations I've given, the caveat is that the institution that you're dealing with may or may not regard these things as weapons or knives. So it's always wise to check with TSA, with the school, with the theme park, with your probation officer if you're a felon, about whether these things are okay, whether you can carry them, and whether you are still within the rules they have set out. So with that said, let me go over the tools with you really quick. As I said before, this is the Knifeless Fuse by Leatherman. It is still sold. It is not in production anymore, but it's still sold. I've seen it at places Amazon, a couple knife places. I already reviewed the tools that this has, so I'm not going to go over it. It is probably the largest, most versatile tool of the Knifeless EDC part. It comes in handy. It has the ruler markings also. I don't know if you can tell, but so that is the first go-to knifeless tool. Once again, you may or may not get through TSA with it. Schools and theme parks may or may not be okay with it, depending on how they view it. So, check it out. Talk to someone about it and see if it gets approved. Most people I've heard are okay with this. However, TSA, like I said, is probably the only biggest thing. The next is the Leatherman Style PS, and it is basically a keychain size tool that is designed to be in a keychain or a belt loop. You can see it has a belt loop attachment there, and it has, to start with, it has mini pliers. You can see the jaw head is thinner. It also has a wire cutter at the bridge there, and then when you close those up, on the outside access is a nail file with a flat head. And Leatherman also says that you can use this for a Phillips. I don't know. I don't really think. I mean, some Phillips it might work, but so Phillips flathead file on that side, and on the other side is a pair of spring-loaded scissors. Scissors actually work pretty well. I mean, they actually work better than the Leatherman Fuse. So I actually like them. They're thick, they cut nicely, they have a nice spring load to them. Other thing I forgot to mention is that these pliers are also spring loaded, which is nice. So these are probably the two main multi-tools that I would carry in a knifeless situation where you're not allowed to carry knives. Having said that, they do look like knives. They do look potentially, quote, dangerous. So if you want to go with something that is maybe safer looking or will be less questionable, I also have this that I've researched and carried. And basically the idea of this is to combine the tools that these provide. So let me go over this with you. This is a folding pair of scissors. It's from Felons, I believe. It's a camping company. It comes in a green package. They fold up pretty nice. My pair sometimes takes some finagling to close, but it works. These are Uncle Bill's tweezers, fine point. Now, granted, they're not as thin or as precise as regular tweezers, but they work just as good as. Oh, I forgot to mention, the PS style has tweezers. That is also why it's slipped into the body right here, and basically you have to pull on it. It takes a little nudge. You can pull it out, and there are the tweezers. They're very much similar to the standard Swiss Army knife tweezers. The only difference is the Swiss Army knife tweezers have a flat finish, and these kind of have a taper that I would guess make it easier to get at splinters and stuff. So anyway, that was the other function of the PS style. Back to the Uncle Bill's tweezers. They work okay. They could get a splinter out, probably hairs. For fine work, dedicated set of tweezers would be what you would need. Basically, you lock into this keychain holder. There's a little notch. I'll show you. There's a little notch that they clip into, that the circle hole clips into. So it keeps the point protected, and it's pretty secure. Ideally, it's meant to be carried in a keychain. I don't do that. I just keep them together. The next is a SwissTech. This is the, I believe, 9-in-1 tool. They make several models of this. There is like the deluxe model, and the reason I don't carry the deluxe model is if you look at it carefully, the deluxe model or the 19-in-1 model has what's called an awl or a punch or something. And the deal with is when you fold it out, it has that another tool in it that is a sharp pointy thing. And to me, that would be questionable if you were approached by TSA or if you were approached by the school or whatever it is, that they may still consider that a weapon. So I chose to go with the simpler version. Let me see. It has a flathead, a wide flathead, a Phillips on that end, and on each side they have what they consider the micro versions. So it's a micro flathead and a micro Phillips. And basically, once you have the tools down, it unlocks the jaw of the pliers. You can close it back up. Even at a 90-degree angle, the jaws will work, but you need to get in tight spots. But once you have it fully locked, they lock into place. And the basic idea of this tool is it's designed to be carried on a keychain. So for example, if this was the keychain, you would unlock the tool and then put it on your keychain ring like that or something similar. I have seen that happen. I think they're a little too heavy to be on a keychain with ignition stuff. I wouldn't do that. So these are the options for Knifeless EDC. Once again, it depends on the situation. You may be safer off going with something like this. If you don't want to look threatening or dangerous and don't want to be questioned about it, it's pretty easy to see there's no knife in any of these. These ones, people look at them, they'll be like, there's a knife, or they'll assume there's a knife. I've read reviews for the Leatherman where in the airport, I don't believe it was TSA, I think it was the airport in an international country, didn't even bother to look at didn't allow the passenger to even show them. They were just like not allowed, and they had to either mail it off or throw it away. So just be aware that different people are going to take these tools differently. Technically, legally, they don't have weapons. They're not considered a weapon. They don't have a blade. So I do encourage you to look at these if that's something you need to consider. If it's if you have a job or if you go to school or a situation where you're not to carry a blade. The other thing was there are some jobs that don't, like the one I mentioned with the teachers at a school where you're not to carry weapons. There are also jobs such as courtroom or legal county jobs that have rules around carrying a knife or a blade. So anyway, I hope that helps. It's just a couple things to consider. Leatherman Knifeless Fuse, the Leatherman Style PS, SwissTech tool, I think it's the 9-in-1, Uncle Bill's tweezers, and a pair of folding scissors. So you can mix and match. I vary it up depending on the situation and what I think I might encounter. I may go with these but have these in a bag, and if I have a feeling that people are going to have a hard time with these, I'll just switch these out. The only other suggestion I have is I found this Secrets cough drop can, and if you have a bag or that you carry stuff in, an EDC bag, whatever, you can throw these tools in there and they pack up nicely. The point is not to hide them, it's just to keep them all bundled together pretty safe. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something and that helps. Take care. Be safe.